I'd like to call to order the November 12th, 2020 regular meeting of the Peters Township Planning Commission. And roll call.
Mr. Magrina.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Wiley.
Here.
Mr. Salepis.
Here.
Mr. Cartaphillis.
Here.
Mr. Mills and Ms. Corbel will not be here tonight.
Reviewing the October 10th, 2020 minutes. Any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any reports and correspondence?
None.
Any site plans or subdivisions filed for review?
Two subdivisions. One, Claxon Plan Number 3, a one-lot subdivision on Thomas Road. And Anthony Farms Phase 3, first revision. That's a lot line shift between two lots.
Any changes to the agenda?
On item A, it's HFT plan, not heft plan. Just note that.
HFT, not HEFT.
HEFT, it's HFT plan.
Lot Consolidation Plan.
Any audience comments on items not on the agenda this evening? No old business, moving on to new business. Planning Commission recommendation is the HFT Plan Number 3, final plan of Washington Road.
Okay, the plan before you tonight is a plan that we approved back in 2017, but was never recorded. Henry F. Teichman, Inc. have their headquarters here on Washington Road, and their parking and their building, it stretches over 6 different lots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This plan, HFT Lot Consolidation Plan, simply combines it all into one big parcel, which is parcel A-R, and it's a 5.83 acre parcel. The entire parcel is all zoned general commercial. Staff's recommending we approve the plan, and subject to those 5 conditions in my memo to you of November 4. Simple lot consolidation.
Any commissioner comments, questions?
No, sir.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that the HFT Plan Number 3 Consolidation Plan, as outlined in staff's memo dated November 4th, 2020, be approved along with the 5 recommendations as listed.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I realize that's got to ask for audience comments. Any audience comments on the prior item? I apologize. We'll move on. And B, Planning Commission recommendation, Juniper Woods revised easement and lot line adjustment for final plan, Juniper Way.
Again, this is another plan that we approved back in July of this year, but it was never recorded. It was a good thing that it wasn't recorded because we found some other issues that we needed to take care of. The plan before you tonight is a revision to the Juniper Woods plan. We originally approved the Juniper Woods plan back in July of 2018. The plan was ultimately recorded in June of 2019. It's under construction, pretty much getting close to being done with all the infrastructure. The road, Juniper Way, is paved. The last section, Manor Way, is not paved yet. We're still working with this property owner right here to get this connection over to Manor Way. The plan before you tonight is a simple revision. It does 4 things. 1, it vacates all the existing storm and sanitary sewer easements that were recorded back in the original plan in 2019. It vacates all those easements and establishes new sanitary and storm sewer easements where the actual storm and sanitary sewers were built. They had to adjust some lot grades while they were under construction, and that shifted locations of sanitary sewers and storm sewers. So this plan will establish new easements for those public facilities. It also adjusts, the lots you see in red are getting adjusted. They're being, 19 of the 60 lots in the plan are being widened out. When Heartland Homes was reviewing the plan that was recorded, they determined that these 19 lots couldn't fit some of the types of homes that they want to be able to build in here, and this simple lot line adjustment will accommodate all 4 or 5 different styles of homes that Heartland Homes plans on building in the Juniper Way plan of lots. The last thing that this plan does is the original plan that was recorded for Manor Way, Manor Way was in a slightly different location. With working with this property owner and trying to line this road up with actually where the Manor Way road is, Manor Way is not in that right-of-way. It actually sits outside the right-of-way. So to make that connection and avoid having a retaining wall built in this area right here, we shifted the location of Manor Way. So this plan will record the new right-of-way for Manor Way. Staff's recommending we approve the revised plan for Juniper Woods, revised easements and lot line adjustments, subject to those 5 conditions listed in my memo to you.
So Ed, what happens with the existing Manor Way? There's going to...
That right-of-way, that's a good question. At some point, once we get this all situated, the portions of Manor Way that are no longer being used or needed can revert to this property owner. Does that make
So
sense?
you're saying what we don't see on there, Manor Way actually does connect?
Can you go back? We'll go back to the area. Can we zoom in there at all? No.
A little bit.
It's hard to see, but Manor Way is actually,
It's more or less.
got built outside the recorded right-of-way. It's kind of a paved, partially paved road right through here, not in that 40-foot right-of-way that we see on that other sheet. So that land could go to that adjoining property owner.
So the actual partway is parallel to what's shown?
Correct.
The width of the roadway should
Correct.
offset, okay. Back to the future.
Is that road going to be built, Ed, or is it just, we're doing right-of-ways at the moment?
Well, it will be built, and it probably won't get built and paved till next paving season.
Oh, okay.
We're working on
Understood.
getting that last piece of property that we need from that property owner at, I don't know what the address is, but we are condemning a portion of his land to make that connection.
Yeah. No, I couldn't remember. I thought we talked about that, but I couldn't recall how we were going to
The Snyder,
connect those dots, because we would have to somehow receive property from those, is it 2 or 3 lots right there?
just one.
Just one, okay.
We need .07 acres off of this property right here to make this connection, and they were unwilling to sell it. So we were in the process of eminent domain to take that piece, to make that connection. So that's all in court right now.
So when that's all done, the new Manor Way and the old Manor Way will line up?
Correct.
In that open space in the rear of lot
13R.
couldn't be, you couldn't make the bend to align with the old Manor Way?
Well, like Manor Way is not built through the center of that right-of-way. It's outside the right-of-way, and
Okay.
on this edge of the right-of-way. The paved portion of Manor Way is not built down the middle of that, so that's why we had to swing this out and line this up so it lines up to where the actual paving is.
Okay.
Is it possible to denote on that drawing the phantom line, the existing in that plan, so it looks like it makes sense? I mean, that's the reason that all these questions are being asked. When you look at that right there, it doesn't make sense.
What,
It's not on a recorded plan, though, is it?
yeah, it's outside this boundary of this recorded plan. We can't adjust those lot lines.
You don't put a cart
I'm
where
just
you
saying a phantom line or something like that to just, okay.
It won't mean anything.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, once the other piece that's the eminent domain thing goes through, then that plan would be adjusted and re-recorded, and then it would all make sense.
Yep.
Okay. Fine. No, that's it.
Any other commissioner comments? Any audience comments on this item? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the planning commission recommend approval for the Juniper Woods revised easement and lot line adjustments on the final plan, subject to the 5 conditions outlined in staff's memo of November 4th, 2020.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, planning commission approval of the revised site plan, get to the car wash, 2840 Washington Road.
This is our get-go facility on our northern end of Route 19. Giant Eagle Inc. owns both the Market District The Market District is, here. This is the get-go facility. They are asking for township approval to add a members-only lane to get into the car wash, which would be happening here. The lane, which is here, would be 20 feet from the nearest fueling pump. So it's just going to trigger some pavement markings, and they're going to put 2 new canopies up that we don't have those. I put those canopies that they're going to put up in the council packet, but it's a simple little revision. I had TPD, our traffic engineer, take a look at it, and they're doing this in multiple facilities around western Pennsylvania, and staff's recommending we approve it. It's I don't know how you become a member, but it'll be
That was going to be my question.
I don't know how that works. Is there anyone here?
Representative here.
Yeah, I'm Chuck Stewart.
Oh, come up and introduce yourself, sir, for the folks on TV.
My name is Chuck Stewart. I'm from Giant Eagle. To become a member, there will be a process for you go in the store online, sign up, and you'll get one of those little, almost like a barcode you can put in your top left or right of your windshield. And from there, basically, how that's set up is every time you go through, you'll select your option. You can just go through, and it charges that. You don't have to worry about paying everything there. It automatically charges it to your account. You just go right on through the car wash. So just kind of taking out that middleman part of having to select, pay, do all that. So
It's like an easy pass for
Almost,
the car
yes.
wash. And I think you have a plan you can buy on a monthly subscription.
that they're still working out some of the details of how they want to do that. I'm not sure of that part of the thing, but I do know that it is for how to get people to move through the car wash a little quicker. So.
Right.
Will you do this year?
The plan is hopefully this year, if not, beginning part of next year, depending on when they can get the contractor started.
Thanks.
Does it require any paving, or is it just painting lines?
There will be no
And
paving.
erecting the canopy?
Yeah, there will be no paving. As you can see, it'll be some construction of the canopies and kind of some restriping in that area, but there won't be any massive repaving in that area.
Okay.
So there's some kind of anchorage for that canopy?
Yes.
Are we still going to be able to have 2-way traffic around the pump apron area?
Yeah, the idea of doing members only lane is it will kind of be quick, so you shouldn't have too much of a queue in that location. The idea is they'll kind of be able to kind of cycle through there. So if they're not members, will still be in the already existing outside lane. So that inside lane will kind of move quicker to hopefully to not cause a back traffic around the pumps.
Is that dimension line to a pump?
20 feet,
What is that distance?
20 feet.
Anything else, commissioners?
Thank you.
Any audience comments on this item? All right, can I have a motion?
I make a motion that the planning commission approve the Enhancement car wash revised site plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item D, planning commission approval of the country store exterior facade alteration, deck roof, 698 Venetia Road.
Okay, up there's the aerial. This is the country store. It's located at 698 Venetia Road, and it's before you tonight because they want to add a canopy to the deck. You can hardly see it here, but the deck is here. Back in 2012, we approved a revised site plan for the country store to add that deck. Now they want to cover it with an open-air roof, gable style, to match the existing roof design at the country store. It's pretty straightforward. Staff's recommending that we allow them to put the roof on, and we want them to stripe the lot in accordance with the 2012 site plan that we approved for the deck. We want the deck to remain open, not enclosed, and a building permit be obtained for the roof.
Is there any exterior lighting for these things over
Carter, you can go ahead up and answer.
there? David, come on up to the mic, please, and introduce yourself. Sure.
Hi, Carter Glenn from the country store. So, under the whole sidewalk in front of the building, there is hanging lights, as well as you could see in the left corner, yeah, the light right there where Ed's got the pointer. I don't use that one, it's not necessary. In fact, after the truck ran through the building, I don't know that I left a light there, but I don't think I rewired it.
If there aren't any new lights.
No new
No
lights.
new lights. That's just
No.
wanted to make sure that there were not going to be any new lights added, because that's what we
No,
have
and-
to
and
complain
I-
sometimes from folks who live around whenever we have new lighting added to facilities.
No plan
We don't have
for,
them
no.
pointed down or
No,
required.
we have no intent of changing our hours. We close at 7 PM. We're closed Sundays. So we're not adding anything like that. The one thing I would like to say is Ed talked open air, and my idea of open air was, if you go back to the drawing, please, Ed, I had large windows on the back wall and the side wall, and then those are like garage door openings on the front, which would allow some protection from, wind and such on cooler days.
Is the intent for that to be used as the dining, or?
Yes, especially in light of COVID. We don't have any current access from the dining room.
That was my next question.
Yeah, we don't. So we would remove a section of the interior dining with the doorway through the logs right to the start of that. And so I'd have something of a barn door. That's actually what I tried to represent there, that I could slide close and just come in through the dining room.
What's happening on this side?
It's 4 large windows. They're very large, so it gives you that outdoor feel. Would mainly be open other than on cooler days when, and this is honestly a 2 seasons room, maybe becomes a 3. It just, in light of COVID, we've had a lot of requests for outdoor dining, which we can't currently do. A waitress would have to walk through the front door, and it's just not feasible.
I'm okay with that, but we would just modify condition number 2. So on the back side, facing the,
4 large windows as well.
and then the front will be,
There'd be 3 openings. 2 of them would be actual garage doors. And and I'm open to whatever is approved, but it would allow it to be essentially open. The one would be like a sliding barn door kind of thing, so the whole front would be open.
So when you say garage doors, are you talking about glass garage doors?
No.
I'm sorry, who's
Are
speaking?
you, right here, are you talking about glass garage doors or solid?
I didn't have in mind glass. I'm open to suggestions. I don't have, I really just want the easy ability to keep it mainly open.
So is the intent of the township that they need to be open year-round? Or how do you put the number two, what's that mean?
Well,
What's the purpose of?
when you, it's a parking, it's a square, if you, that's an open air deck with up to 15 seats. He can meet his parking. If it becomes square footage for
Fully enclosed dining
fully
space.
enclosed dining, that triggers additional
I
parking.
have no intent to add additional abilities to make that dining. It's more of a COVID response with a large number of people expressing concern for open air dining.
Would it be reasonable to say that that open air definition will be addressed in the building permit submission? Of course, for the schematic design, I think that's probably not representative of what's actually going to be built to, although it's a beautiful drawing, it's not exactly representative of the materials and all that stuff, so that could be addressed during the building permit process, whether it's open air or closed. We just want to make sure it is open air, otherwise, it triggers a parking element.
It can.
Rather than diving into an issue today.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So we should just eliminate condition 2 for now.
But you would need that condition, right? Because we need to make sure that we're not triggering the parking requirement.
Right.
But I will make sure of, as part of the building permit, that they're not enclosing it on all 3 sides, and it has an open air garage
If you're
style.
comfortable with that, then that's fine. But you understand the intent, sir?
I do.
Because otherwise we get more parking and pavement's normal, or you don't need.
I understand.
Well, I mean, we could make a condition that the allowable construction would not require additional parking.
But that's what the building permit will outline.
Right.
Okay.
It needs to not become like usable, putting up displays of merchandise in there.
Not at
It
all.
strictly needs to be for 3-season dining.
Yes.
We'll deal with it at the building permit level.
Okay.
Any other commissioner comments? Any audience comments on this item? All right, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the country store exterior facade alteration be approved according to staff's memo dated November 4th, 2020. And I guess with the 2 conditions outlined, with the number 2 being incorporated into the building permit application.
I'll second that with number two being amended altogether.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck, thank you.
And E, planning commission approval, Rex Glass exterior facade alteration, 2903 Washington Road.
Before you this evening is an additional facade alteration application for the Rex Glass business located at 2903 Washington Road. These are the current Route 19 elevations for the building. As you can see, it's kind of a combination of a light material paint with some tan outlines and then some greenish windows and doors. A similar facade treatment can be seen on both the northern elevation and a combination of the entrance and the northern elevation. The entrance itself on the left can also be seen somewhat from Route 19. Proposed is a complete refacing of portions of the building, both the Route 19 elevation as seen there in the top right-hand corner, the entry elevation in the top left, and then again that northern elevation there in the bottom. Primarily composed of two principal materials, the blue, what appears to be a metal, and then just I believe the gray is just a simple repainting of the existing facade, along with some additional windows to replace some of the current windows that are located on these facades, and then a new entrance door and windows for the entry elevation itself. Simply a facade alteration, no additional improvements to the building that would trigger any site plan changes, parking, occupancy, anything of those considerations. As noted in my November 4th staff report to the Planning Commission, we are recommending approval, subject to the two conditions. The first being that no signs are approved. Any signage that's seen there on these two elevations would require a separate sign permit, and then a building permit be obtained prior to these alterations taking place.
Any audience?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm Matt Garrison with Midland Architecture, here available to answer questions, and also John Kimicata from Rex Glasses here as well.
Any commissioner questions?
That looks nice.
Yeah.
It's a group.
Any audience comments? May I have a motion?
Well, make a motion that the planning commission approve the Rex Glass exterior facade elevation.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Hey, Kevin, you can go ahead and sit up here. There's a crew coming in, so you
Item
want to go ahead and take
8F,
your seat at the big table.
Planning Commission approval, Valley Brook Medical Office Site Plan 350 Valley Brook Road.
As is typical, Tom Robinson's bringing a whole crew with him, so Ed's bringing them in for us.
42 minutes.
Do we just vote now? Nice kid.
You're coming.
Hold on.
This is the most colorful. It's like-
You can always tell when it's a Steve Victor.
Wow.
Okay. Before you tonight is the,
I'll get it.
it's your name. It's okay.
It's here, sir.
The Valley Brook Medical Office site plan. This came before Planning Commission earlier in the year, back in August, as part of their variance application before the zoning hearing board to do some construction activity for the building and for the associated parking and grading within an identified floodplain. At that time, Planning Commission made a recommendation to the zoning hearing board that they approve the variances, and ultimately on August the 18th of this year, the three variances requested by the applicant were approved by the zoning hearing board. So now they've come back to Planning Commission for their site plan approval for the medical office and a slight change to the previously approved Valley Brook Cafe project. All of these are effectively becoming one cohesive project, a shared entrance off Valley Brook Road, and it's kind of one big cooperative development. The medical office site plan includes the 9,200 square foot medical office building on the far eastern end of the property, with the associated parking for the building, located in between the medical office building and the previously approved cafe. The applicant is showing a site plan that is overparked for both the medical office combined with the cafe, so we have some additional parking that could serve as trailhead parking for a pedestrian connection to the Arrowhead Trail, which was shown as part of the cafe site plan. In terms of the changes made to the cafe site plan, they're increasing the building size from a previously approved 1,595 square foot building to 1,970 square foot building. That really doesn't trigger any issues in regard to parking because they're overparked. There's nothing in the lease agreement with the township that stipulated the building size, so there's no issue there in terms of an agreement with council. So just a slight modification to the building itself. Zeroing in on the medical office portion of the site, again, there's the associated parking for the development, a portion of which is located in the floodplain, along with the dumpster location and a portion of the building. In order to comply with the conditions that were recommended by the Planning Commission as part of the variance, all of these improvements, both the building, dumpster, are at least a foot above the revised 100-year floodplain, so they're complying with that requirement. They're complying with all of our other floodplain requirements. Their HECRAS study has come a long way since they were last in front of the Planning Commission, so we've made some good progress on this site here. In terms of building design and landscaping, there's a significant portion of landscaping throughout the site, both in the parking and serving as a buffer between the development and Valley Brook Road. And then if you take a look at the building, it's a combination of building materials, both red brick, I believe this is some sort of an ephes treatment, and then a green standing seam metal roof, which will both complement the previously approved cafe, but also give it a little bit of a personality on its own. It differentiates itself slightly with that ephes treatment, but I think collectively, both this and the cafe will look very nice next to one another. Here you can see what the intended stormwater management for the development is. We've got a swale running behind the building here that will both function for stormwater management to one side and the other. The inlets throughout the parking lot will be collected into 2 tanks, which will ultimately discharge into the brush run to the south of the site. Staff is making a recommendation of approval subject to all of the conditions listed in the November 6th staff report with an additional 11th condition. I neglected to include that Transportation Planning and Design, TPD, needs to provide comments and an approval of the site plan as well. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. We also have another presentation by the applicant's consultant.
Actually, Seth really did do the majority of my presentation here this evening, but once again,
do my best.
Mike Wetzel of Victor Wetzel Associates. So we'll just kind of quickly go through some of the plans that initially was discussed. And as you know, the site is just 6.8 acres in size and located in the Valley Brook mixed-use residential district through there. And you kind of saw through the architectural plans and the building plans that the building sizes are very compatible for really where the zoning district is located. So it's very, very nice kind of fit overall within the neighborhood section in itself. And as you know, that you have a brush run that does go through the site. Through here, the approved dessert shop will just have a slight change to the overall building size on this section. And then, last year when the dessert shop was approved, this particular land that was owned by Mr. Robinson was donated to the township for future stormwater work within the area. And, really the site in itself in regard to the existing conditions, we do have a dual sanitary line. This is the outline of the floodplain location, once again, Brush Creek, and then we have the floodway that follows down along into here. And once again, the overall medical site, you can kind of see that we're only developing just because of where we are total-wise and because of the floodplain. This was our only area to be able to develop the 7.8-acre site within the area. And we're incorporating the driveway that we used and we got approved for the dessert shop at that location through there. Proper site distance along that area. One of the changes that we did do in regard to the site plan from the zoning hearing board is under this plan you can kind of see we have these parking lot section right along and through here. The grading kind of pushed more into the floodplain area, got over the dash areas for the existing sewer line in itself. And you can kind of see through the lane change, if it switches over. Oops.
I got you, Mike.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Seth. That we removed all that parking along and through here to eliminate some additional impact into the floodplain. So it became, we just kind of elongated some of the developable area in through this section of the site, which then gave us more of a buffer from Brush Creek. And as you can see, within the plan, you do have the sidewalks that connect both the medical office building all the way over to the dessert shop site. So we'll be able to have a pedestrian access through here. As Seth said, we have 50 proposed parking spaces within the plan and through here. Really what that does is it allows, just through the basic parking counts associated not only between the dessert shop and medical building, but provides about 18 parking spaces above, which can be used for the trail site access. And once again, the architecture that's being proposed, it's very complementary to the same type of architecture for the dessert shop itself. And as Seth also mentioned, this is our underground detention facility. We are taking some of the storm water from Valley Brook Road and through here, and then doing a rain garden through this section to collect that water, and then back down into Brush Creek. And once again, the overall landscape plan, we're kind of, once again, you can see the neighborhood where we're really developing within the site. Makes for a nice enhancement for the corridor. Nice sized buildings associated within that corridor area, and fits real well within that district. And once again, really intensive planting along Valley Brook Road, along through here. Additional plantings along the area and through here, as well as street trees along the edge of the Brush Creek. So very complimentary in regard to the corridor today. And as part of the submittal, we've submitted updated calculations for the HEC-RAS study. That's the floodplain changes within the plan. The above area represents really the existing floodplain area, which includes here, over and through this section. And then the new calculations come through. It says, well, with the new development, the new floodplain works itself around the parking lot and does not have any impact off-site in regard to off-site properties. Any questions in regard to the HEC-RAS study and the floodplain? We also have Chris Ham from KDH Engineers to answer any questions. But we have submitted, a few weeks ago, we did receive comments from Gateway Engineers. Through their letter, we provided a response to their comments 2 days or so ago, and updated plans that we'll be able to address all the comments associated through not only staff, but also Gateway Engineers. So as we are saying, we're looking for final land development approval for the Valley Brook Medical Building, and the slight revision in regard to the building size for the dessert shop location. Glad to answer any questions that the board might have.
Will construction of both facilities be concurrent? Will they, or is one planned first and then the other one to follow? Or
Tom, do you have more of an answer?
I would say pretty close both at the same time.
Looking at the decision, like, there's 9, I don't want to call them, well, there are 9 conditions in the zoning hearing board decision. We meet, or say your plan meets all of those?
Yes, it does.
Ed, do we need to make reference in your memo to those conditions that are outlined in the zoning board? memo.
if we don't have a condition in our 10 or 11 conditions, we should just add a condition 12 that all zoning hearing board conditions be met. There are some that we have to deal with at the building permit level, making sure it's flood-proof construction. The structures are 1.5 feet above the,
They're about more than that.
Yeah, they're like 5 feet, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a
some we'll get through as we finish developing the site, like condition 9 of the zoning hearing board. You know, we can't deal with that until the project is done.
So I think we should add a condition 12, all 9 conditions from the August 28, 2020 zoning hearing board approval be met.
And this is a planning commission approval.
Correct.
Any other commissioner comments? Any audience comments? Really nice site, well put together.
Thank you very much.
You guys have done a good job of working with the township and coming back and getting this point.
Well, I think it all goes back to even when the dessert shop, and even when we were going through some of the variances we went back through there. There's a lot of good discussion from the planning commission back at that time, and also even when we were here for the zoning hearing board modifications for the site. It really became a nice put together project, and it was good working with staff on this.
It's come together nicely.
I should have caught this because I don't see a traffic impact fee condition. I should have caught this. There will be a traffic impact fee for the new medical office building. We should add a condition 13.
Yep, I got it.
And Mr. Mudry will tell you what that fee will be.
Not tonight.
Next month.
Condition 13 should be required traffic impact fee be paid prior to issuance of a building permit.
Use material people using it?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Valley Brook Medical Office Site Plan, 350 Valley Brook Road, as outlined in the November 6th memo, and in accordance with the 13 conditions. Condition 11 would be the PBD review of the plan. Condition 12 would be that all zoning board conditions would be met, and 13 would be the traffic impact fee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Seth.
Is that an extra set?
Yeah.
Do you need a set? Is that the revised set?
That should be the same one that was just submitted.
Do you have a set? No, we do.
We'll hold on to it.
We'll hold on to this.
Thanks.
Thank you. We have our meeting is still going, so
I'm leaving.
I'll see you.
I might have your dinner.
Nothing in the planning portion.
We adjourn our regular meeting.
Yes.
Open up the public hearing.
Meeting, the planning commission, the discussion planning commission, November 12th, 2020. I'm going to call to order the November 12th, 2020 traffic impact fee advisory committee meeting.
You know, I'll take a roll call here.
Roll call.
Mr. Dolanch? Here. Mr. Claxon?
Here.
Mr. Switzer will not make it. Rochelle will not be here. Ted, Mr. Cartafilis?
Here.
Mr. Salepis?
Here.
Mr. Wiley? Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Magrino, and Mr. Mills will not be here. Real quick, we have Mike Mudry here tonight, who will walk the Planning Commission and the Traffic Impact Fee Advisory Committee through the update, the 2020 Traffic Impact Fee Capital Improvement Project update. Just a real quick We started traffic impact fees back in 2008. So we've been at it for a while. For the last 3 years, we've been trying to be as consistent with the MPC requirements for municipalities that have traffic impact fees. In the MPC, it says that we should be reviewing our capital improvement program and our traffic impact fee annually. So we started in 2008. In 2018, we did an update. 2019, we did an update, and this will be our 2020 update. And Mike Mudry with Traffic Planning and Design, Inc., who's our Peters Township traffic consultant, will walk the advisory committee through the update. And this is a recommendation to council.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to make sure, I know I'd sent out a draft one earlier last week, and I know Ed and Seth, they printed out a new copy dated today. One of the spreadsheets I was using and that got sent out to you guys last week didn't drag it down all the way, so some of the numbers updated. I mean, it's essentially the same document, just if you're really a numbers person trying to dig into these numbers, the one dated tonight is the latest and greatest. I'm just going to go through and roll through the text and the tables, just kind of throw it out there just like we do every year, just to update everybody. And when we get to the end, or if you want to interrupt me while we're going, feel free to chime in. And I'll try to be as brief as possible, but if I'm being too brief, like I said, just shout out and ask me a question. Like Ed said, this has been going on since 2008. The first thing I would refer to is tables number 1 and tables number 2 in the report. If you remember from last year, the map of the township's drawn into 2 zones. There's a northern zone and a southern zone. We typically don't change the map. The only time we've recently changed the map was when we had the Rolling Hills project come through. We took the line through the park basically to divide the property in half to get more funding available for Rolling Hills. So Table 1 summarizes the northern transportation district. Table 2 summarizes the southern. Basically, it gives a year-by-year accounting of income, interest earned on the checking account, revenues, expenditures, and a balance. The most significant thing in there right now is currently the northern zone has a balance of about $340,000. The southern TSA is actually in a negative balance right now because we are expending money for the Rolling Hills project. So that's actually $106,000 in the negative right now.
How does that work?
Well, you're allowed, I mean, they're kept separately, but it's one pot of money. So it's really the northern, we spent money out of the northern and we owe it to the southern later.
We have a net positive.
Yeah, we're net positive. So, if we ever got to the point where we were net negative everywhere, we'd have to figure that one out. But you can't, you're allowed to go net negative if your projected revenues down the road are going to replenish that. So I would think it's going to take a year or two for that southern zone. Actually, most of the development's been occurring in the southern zone recently, so it's probably a year or so to catch back up out of the hole for that. Right now, the impact fee, if you remember last year, we balanced it out. Or actually 2 years ago, we balanced it out to $1,500 per PM peak hour new trip. So for example, the last project that was up here for Mr. Robinson, it was the food place and the medical office building. What we do is we're looking at new trips. So a medical office building is always new trips, but food places, people drive by and on their way home or way to a baseball game. So there's a percentage of trips that we don't assess. They're called pass-by trips. So we're only assessing new trips. And then the joke you made about getting charged for people using the trail, we certainly don't charge for that. It's all a square footage-based calculation on the uses that they're building. So right now it's $1,500 a trip. Since this has started in 2008, the amounts of money that we've collected, it's about a little over $1 million in the northern TSA and about $923,000 in the southern TSA. We've been earning interest on those accounts. You can see the interest that we've earned, $19,000 in the northern TSA, just under $6,000 in the southern. Our big expenditure recently here has been the Rolling Hills Drive project. You can see so far $1.1 million of that's impact fee money has gone for the new road. What else? The relocation of East McMurray is actually getting relocated for a new intersection. All that, all the way through the site, that's part of that $1.1 million. And I'd have to check with Mark Samitis. I don't know how far we are into construction and how much more he's expecting. But
Yeah, and I don't know that either. Signals are part of it.
right. The amount of money spent from each TSA you can see is about $700,000 in the northern and about $1 million in the southern zone. Tables 3 and 4 you see in there, if you flip to those, that's just actually a running list of every development and everybody that's paid in, and there's a certain number of trips that were assessed to every development since 2008. So we've got a running list of all the developments since 2008, how much they paid, each individual. And you see a lot of building, it's all based on building permits. So a new development, like of homes, they come in one at a time. So that list gets long in the back. But you can see since the inception, there's been 757 trips on the northern TSA and 666 in the southern. And we're at about 30% of what was built in at the beginning of this back in 2008. In 2008, the northern TSA, we forecasted 2,536 trips, and the southern was 2,240. So there's a long life to how much impact fees and how many trips we're projecting over time. We're about 30% away through the trips that we've ever projected. So there's, again, when you're in a negative balance, back to that, there's projections down the road of growth potential that we're able to collect down the road. Proposed changes, this gets to the next table. Table number 5 is that huge one with all the numbers. That's kind of like the engine that I've set up to run this thing. When we want to update things, add new projects, that's kind of the spreadsheet where, the sausage is made and gives you all the numbers and all the projects. Last year, we updated a bunch of project build years because there's a requirement in the MPC that any of these projects on our list have an associated build year. And if you don't build the project within 3 years of the build year on your list, it triggers refunds to people. But then at the same time, it also says, as long as you're updating your plan periodically, once every year or 2 years, like Ed said, you're able to adjust those years and push them out. Just for the fact of, like, right now, there's no PennDOT funding coming through. There's very little PennDOT dollars being spent. Recession type stuff. I think building permits are doing okay for the time being, but I mean, in other areas, it's not keeping up quite as well. The only major change that we're talking about this year is adding a new project number 26. And it's McMurray Road, right at the existing, I'll call it the old high school, main driveway, and a new development that's been proposed to come in and access and make that a 4-way intersection.
Can you show that?
Yeah, we'll get to that. Do you want to go to that now?
Yeah, I kind of let the cat out of the bag, so if you want to just jump.
Now I gotta go
Everybody's gonna be
backwards
thinking about
and-
this project until we get to it, so.
Yeah, so here's the existing high school. We've got a proposed development on this large parcel that wraps around the existing fire station. And as part of their main entrance to East McMurray, there would be a significant improvement and an intersection created.
And this is really a cartoon placeholder. This is not, no one's proposed this exact plan. This is just us getting out in front of the potential of that property to develop. I mean, if that property, if and when it does develop, I mean, then they're going to have to go get PennDOT permits, do traffic studies, calculate these turn lane lengths. For right now, this is a concept drawing that I put together with a cost estimate to get it in there. So if and when, whether it's a developer that's talking to the township now, or if it's down the road a couple years, another developer, someone's going to come in for that property. I mean, they're looking to develop that. We have a mechanism in place where, maybe some of the, instead of their impact fees going into the general impact fee fund, there's mechanisms where if you build things on the impact fee program, you get credits for it. So you're not building an improvement and paying an impact fee. It's on there, and the township's able to give essentially a refund, let them spend their impact fee dollars on an actual project that's in the plan. Because while the township can say, here's what you can do and here's what you're going to build, they still have to go to PennDOT. So PennDOT doesn't care about impact fees. They're saying, you're building a major intersection on a state highway, here's what you're going to do. So we're trying to get out in front of this a little bit. So because that'll be the inevitable question, whoever develops that. Hey, can I use my impact fees to build what PennDOT wants me to build?
It's needed there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a big help too. There's a little more access control. If it becomes the middle school, it's a different kind of crowd that goes to the middle school. It's not kids driving it, it's more moms dropping off kids. It's a different kind of pattern down there. So,
But the stadium will remain where it is.
right.
So on those days that the stadium's used, that gets, they have the policemen there.
Right.
Actually, both at the stadium entrance as well as
Mhm.
the main entrance.
And so, having a residential development across the street with a traffic light, the schools only need for 15, 20 minutes at a time. You got a development, you have a traffic light. That actually helps when the school is doing whatever it is or the stadium's being used. It's easier for a police officer to run the light instead of being out in the middle of traffic, at 10 at night when a football game's letting out. I don't know if anybody has any questions on this. I mean, I can also drop the cost estimate on you if you have one.
Here it is.
Ultimately, that would be, I know you have it on there as a signalized intersection, but do you anticipate that's what it would be? I know that PennDOT is doing a huge roundabout kit. We're not talking about swapping a roundabout. That's an incredibly busy roadway, right?
I think a roundabout is a consideration. We looked at a roundabout at Rolling Hills, and it was certainly in the running. I just think that, the challenge that you come into is topography is that whole,
It
looks
jumps
flat. That's a giant hill.
Yeah.
And plus you have the
Stream.
stream running right there.
So you'd have to push it all to the northern side,
Yeah,
and you just can't fit it in there.
I don't know what the quality of that stream is, but I'm sure it's whatever is the most painful to do a transportation project. That's what the quality of the stream and the permit level you would need to get. So for right now, like I said, maybe down the road, maybe there's a different intersection, a different idea somebody has, maybe, but this isn't set in stone. But I think this is the, back of the napkin. This is what I think would happen if they develop that. So, and then when we put these cost estimates together, I'm putting them together in terms of this being a PennDOT project, by the way. So prices are up, timeframes are longer. All in, this is like a $1.2 million project. If it was a private developer doing it under a PennDOT HOP, they could probably do it quicker and cheaper. But some of the best projects that we've been working on here in the township are being advanced by PennDOT, so you never know. So that's what the number is. It's like 1.247 million. And again, this can change. Just like next year, like when Rolling Hills starts getting done, we have a placeholder in these charts for how much money is allocated to Rolling Hills. Once we get to the final number and they're done, spending money on that, we have a final cost on that, we are going to come back and adjust this program to reflect that final cost, and that's going to move money around probably next year or the year after. So really back on table 5, that's that big table. That takes into consideration everything. Theoretically, there's a maximum impact fee amount that we could try to charge if we charged for every trip that was a new development trip. Unfortunately, that impact fee would be about $6,800 per trip. I do think someone has a higher one in Pennsylvania, but we'd probably be the second highest at that rate. Because if you look at page 5, this is interesting. At the top of page 5 is some sample Western PA impact fees. For example, Cranberry's about $1,560. Marshall Township's $1,722 and $1,620. They have different fees in each zone. Adams has kind of got a weird one. They're $1,533 in one zone and $586 in another. Pine Township's at $1,300. Richland's at $1,265 in one district and $1,917 in another. And Murraysville is at $1,335. You get the report that's at the top of page 5. And like I said, right now we're at $1,500. One thing that staff did throw out there, and it's rolled into here, is a small increase of $25 per trip. to take the fee up here in Peters Township from $1,500 to $1,525.
We're local, these townships are fairly far away from here. And what are the comparisons for those folks who are close by here?
Well,
Hold on.
I mean, in western PA, these are the towns that have.
yeah,
These are the-
right. It's not like everybody around us has one.
Well, that's what I was gonna,
North Strabane doesn't, St. Clair doesn't, Cecil
So
doesn't.
we really can't compare to those directly adjacent to us.
So your built-up townships that don't have a lot of room to grow, impact fees don't make sense because
Right.
all your traffic is existing traffic. And we've talked about this before where you can only calculate what's the impact of new developments, and that's what you can assess the trips on. If you're in a town like St. Clair or Mount Lebanon, there's not a lot of new development going on, so there's no opportunity. North Strabane's kind of an unusual one. I would think that they'd be somebody that have a lot of
Yeah.
development, land potential.
It's surprising that North Strabane doesn't.
They should have.
But as far as Washington County, this is the only one out this way. Westmoreland County, it's Murray, the only one is Murraysville. North Huntington missed the boat years ago. They're way past the point of doing something like that.
Pleasant Hills does not have a traffic impact.
No.
But it's important that staff's making a recommendation that we go from 1,500 to 1,525.
A little bit of that is just trying to keep up with inflation too. I mean, that's a 1.67% increase over what we changed it to 2 years ago.
Rick, do you do, traffic studies to determine the flow from a new building and do you ever go back and audit what you've projected, like to do?
We actually had a refund, if you look,
Well, so we don't,
2018.
no, we don't.
You have some modeling that you do to determine.
So what it was back in 2008, it was the entire township, and we didn't take individual parcels, but we broke the township down into discrete little zones. I think there was about 40 little zones that we created. And then in each one, we said, okay, how much vacant land's in each one of these little zones? What's it zoned? And then we came up with kind of a generic number, like, hey, this little zone could generate 200 new homes, or whatever it was. Or if it was in a commercial, hey, it could generate maybe this many square feet of office and that. So we didn't pinpoint at the property level, but it was a small chunk of the township. And then that generated all the traffic over the years. So I would say if you'd go back and try to figure it out, you'd look at some and you'd say, hey, some are high, some are low, but it's all an average. You don't really, because what we did was we made assumptions. But then when we come to the assessment part, like say when Mr. Robinson was here, we will assess based on his specific use, because every little change in use, you could say commercial, there's all kinds of commercial uses. Office is going to generate different than medical, office is different than restaurant.
Or like
so
a
we go to the individual use at the property level. And that's why I said if you look at page 2 at the top, that tells you how many trips were in that initial assessment back in the day. 2,536 trips in the northern, 2,240 in the southern. And then right underneath that, you can see where we're at in the big picture. We're at 757 northern, 666 in the southern. And we're only at 30% of the trips that we ever projected for the whole. But we don't go back and audit it like the minute levels.
Like when I see those rubber, tubes or whatever, the
Right.
with cars passing over.
Right.
Are you measuring the traffic flow at that particular spot?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different. We don't necessarily go back and check against this study what we did, but there is monitoring. The township monitors their roads. PennDOT and the Regional Planning Commission do studies. They're monitoring all their traffic over time. I can tell you, traffic's been flat for the last couple of years. It's been unusual, and now with COVID, it's totally all over the place. But yeah, we did. So. And some of those projections are baked into this study when it was done, but we don't go back up and update it. I mean, it's a big study, so it would be, you'd be spending $30,000-$40,000 every time you try to update this model, because that's how much data went into this when we put this together back in 2008.
Like I know when we have the traffic calming issues, there's some monitoring
Right.
that occurs.
Yeah, we have some different types of speed devices we put out. We have some radar boxes, tubes, video cameras that count cars.
Right.
We do a couple different things for that. And I know when they update the comp plan, I mean, that's part of, and you guys do updates to your, you like an annual update on traffic counts you do?
No.
You have something like that there? Okay.
So, Mike, the other question, so what you're saying is that over 20 years from the beginning of this study, that you're expecting 2,500 new trips? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we projected out, but
Okay.
obviously that was based on, here we are, and we think we're taking off at this rate, like, and we've hit those ups and down plateaus over the last, so.
I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
I'm just looking at your plan here. So that's the total, and to date, we've assessed 757 is
Right.
what you're saying,
Right.
right? And so there's 1779 left. If we charge that 1525 for those, it'll be 2,000,007 something, right? So that's what'll be collected, but that's not in a year, that's over.
Oh, that's over the lifetime,
That's
right?
over the lifetime of the thing, and then that 2.7 goes to fund what we have in the horizon forecast of $86 million of projects, that
Right.
as that rolls over, we're going to get some kind of funding for certain things and some we won't.
Right, because what we do is these construction dollars are in the build year. So like if you
Right.
look at project number 1, the build year is 2025. That column D is construction dollars of 2025. So if we ever want to move that project further out, or if something jumps ahead of it and we want to change the build year, we're going to adjust it based on, cost indexes for
Right.
construction. Right, so the totals you see are based on build year construction dollars, not today's dollars. And if
So how often do we have to, we go back and review this annually and reassess and say, okay. And how many of the 757, so how many years did it take to go through those 7?
No, these numbers are since 2008, so it's taken us 12 years to
12 years
get
to
757 and 12 years to get 666 in the Southern District.
So 63 a year, 60-some.
Yeah, so like I said, when we did this, we were based, in 2008, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, getting older, it's hard to remember all this. I think we were zooming on number of building permits in the mid-2000s. Like, so when we put this together, 2008, we're hitting the ground, we're going gangbusters. But a couple of those flattening periods, those weren't built in.
When we were doing the zoning overlays, there was a big holdback of development where we kind of flatlined for 2 years probably while they were waiting to see what was going to happen with the road.
And then we peaked, in like 2012, we peaked at like 101 single-family permits in a year. That was kind of our apex over the last decade or so.
Right. So if you're on that page 5, there's some talk about that there. You're in the middle of page 5. It talks about the Northern TSA. $2.7 of fees remaining to collect, $1 million previously collected. So that's a total of, if the life of this thing, if we ever get to the end, we'll have $3.76 million collected in the Northern.
Yeah, that comes right.
Yeah, that comes right off the table. So
yeah, that's where I was.
Yeah, and so you could see, even with this program, it's a nice program. It's pretty aggressive. How much money we're looking to collect. We still have $90 million of projects that are on there. This is heavy lifting. This is like, we're never going to build all these projects. We got them on here, so as we're moving down the road, whichever's the one that's most needed, or for example, there's 2 that PennDOT's coming along with. They're talking about, the roundabout down here at the Valley Brook and Beebout, and then up at the other end of Beebout and McMurray doing projects. Those projects, as of right now, I'm not sure exactly what commitment from the township, but I know the township did talk about taking some impact fee money giving it to the state to get that started. I mean, if you can get a $2 million project done for $300,000-$400,000 of impact fee money, because these intersection projects are very rare right now at PennDOT. In fact, the latest version of their transportation program for PennDOT basically has no new design projects. It's whatever's in the system right now, they're building out what's in the system, and there's nothing new coming behind it. So it kind of helps you get ahead if you're showing up with a match or a...
I was going to say, if I could speak, if I could channel Mr. Lauer, he would say, we jumped to the front of the line when we put money on, because I remember he basically did the exact same line. Whenever the projects from PennDOT come down, having money to put up moves our projects to the front of the line.
I mean, I know it sounds...
That's my best.
That's 100% correct. And I know it's excruciatingly slow, but you think about it, we had Center Church done in McMurray, the Valley Brook ramps down this way, and then having 2 more projects that might be actually done within 2 years of each other. There's, unless there's some kind of major development like a casino or something major showing up, you're not getting that type of, PennDOT investment at the township level, but at intersection level like that. They're building 70s and Route 30s in North Huntington. They're not looking at these smaller projects right now. So, I mean, that's kind of my presentation, my spiel. The guys always like table number 8.
It's a good table.
It kind of cleans it up, makes it a little simpler.
There you go.
It tells you what projects, because there are some projects on here that don't have funding with impact fees. And that was back to the holdover days when Mike Silvestri said, even if it's not a project, he didn't want it just to be an impact fee comprehensive plan. He liked it as a transportation. So you kept your eye on, even though we're doing this impact fee stuff, there's some other things, don't forget about, that transportation-wise the township needs. But that table number 8 gives you eligible impact fee funding and the allocations of each one. You can see there's a column for current budget on each one. And we're short. We don't have the $86 million to build everything, but the monies that we do have and we're projecting, that's allocated under the current budget. And the way the manager's regulations are written, Mr. Lauer can go to council at any time and adjust the numbers in that column. It's just the total at the bottom there, the 3.5 million in the northern and the 2.8 in the southern. The bottom line numbers can't change, but what projects are allocated, council and Mr. Lauer can adjust that at any time. For example, say PennDOT's coming in with some new project or something, or if the turnpike, I don't know, some Southern Beltway thing happens and they're like, hey, we want to do something here at this intersection. You never know. There's flexibility built in to be able to change your priorities. And then hopefully next year we'll have some more projects on the completed list that we get Rolling Hills completed. And soon after that, Valley Brook, Bebout, McMurray. Knock some of these projects out.
Mike, so
the recommendation that we're asking,
Go ahead.
there's a couple things, there's some technical language on what we're actually recommending at the bottom of page 6. So we're asking the 4 bullet points at the bottom of page 6 to adopt the revised calculation of the maximum impact fee, which is table 5, to replace the current version of the table. And this is in accordance with section 241-3I of the Township Code. And then the second bullet point, adopt the revised impact fee costs and assignments. That's table 6. That's that table we were just kind of looking at where what projects get what money. And that's section 241-11E of the Township Code. Also adopt a revised capital improvement plan, which is table 7 of this report, to replace the current version, section 241, attachment C of the Township Code. And we didn't talk about it a lot, it's $25, but if we've convinced you enough, adopt a revised impact fee of $1,525 per PM peak hour trip in both the northern and southern TSA.
So the revised calculation, what's getting revised on table 5? Is it the
So table 5, the biggest change is that new project. It's highlighted across.
Okay.
Number 26 is getting added. So that crunches those numbers down below. So the things in yellow or what's getting updated every year.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, so and if you look at the table below, it's the 1500, I have 1525 plugged in. I updated the number of trips to the 757 and the 666, and that carries down to how much our projected impact fees are to collect, or how much we've collected through the end of October. So the things in yellow are what's updating on that chart. And Table 5 is actually an attachment to the Township Code, as I mentioned.
So the as of 10/31 is a hard number
That's a balanced number.
for each
The
one.
assistant manager provides us with an updated of the checking accounts. There's, he has the interest in every deposit and the expenditures to Rolling Hills and all that is a ledger that he provides us.
So I have a question. This Table 8, do the numbers in Table 8, are they congruent with the numbers in Table 5 somewhere? Do they relate to them in some way? Because I'm looking at the current budget, at the bottom is 3.596 for the northern and 2.877 for the southern. And are those coming from somewhere in Table 5?
So,
Do they have anything to do with
the cost estimate column in Table 8, and then the maximum impact fee column on Table 8 comes from Table 5. Then the current budget column next to it, one that has a bunch of zeros in it for a lot of projects,
Yeah.
that's actually coming from Table number 6, where we're assigning the amount of impact fees that we're going to collect to individual projects. So Table 8 kind of brings the important stuff from Table 5 and Table 6 and puts it all together in a much simpler format. That it's easier. It's way easier to hand out Table number 8 to someone and talk about it than just Table number 5.
I was trying to connect the dots.
There you go.
This is all there is. I've got at this point. I have one massive spreadsheet that if I fill in the when I fill in the yellow highlighted stuff in here, the whole spreadsheet is
Populates.
yeah. I've done it by hand too many times. I brushed up my Excel skills to automate this a little more.
So is there a reason to not go more or less than the 25
I think we're just trying to stay consistent and somewhere in the middle with all of these comparable communities.
Yeah, it does compare with, I was looking at Cranberry, it's we're right there.
Yeah, we don't want to price anybody out by hitting the high end. We want to stay nice and easy.
I like that.
I mean, we're always fighting an uphill battle with the construction costs. Not always inflation.
Land acquisition costs.
Right.
Then you go and tack $2,000 on top of a building permit, people. Good thing it's not 6,800.
Are you sure? Are you making a recommendation?
That would kill everything.
That's not my recommendation, by the way.
What page were those things on?
5.
Right here.
The recommendations are bottom of page 6.
Right there.
4 bullet points.
It's on the screen.
Right, so tables 5, 6, and 7 are actually listed as attachments in the Township Code.
So
And the impact fee is, I don't know exactly what section that is, but that's part of the code also. So we need to
Modified.
adopt that to update that.
So a motion would include all 4 of those items. Right, Mike?
Right.
Any questions over there from the...
No?
Do you think 1525 is okay, Kim, as a commercial developer, landowner?
Increasing it $25, it's not going to break the bank either. Nothing to fight it. Jimmy,
I agree.
All right. I need a motion.
Everybody just looked at me.
It's your turn to look at the draw, right?
Yeah. All right. Just before I start this, there was no adjustments we're doing to the recommendations outlined on page 5 or page 6, right?
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion that the Peters Township Transportation Impact Advisory Committee recommend approval of the Peters Township Transportation Impact Fee Program specific to those recommendations outlined on page 6 of the report prepared by TPD Inc. of November 6, 2020.
November 12, 2020. Updated report came in today.
Oh, thank you. That's it. Updated November 12, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Spend your $25 wisely.
This covers masks now.
We're done?
Do we have to address the, Conrad, aren't you still on the traffic?
No.
Do we do
I-
address that?
somebody
Not
In
yet.
this meeting or is it a different meeting?
In January.
The traffic in January? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, otherwise-